Welcome to another episode of Talking TVET. I am your host, Phil Henderson, here to delve into the TVET transformation project. St. Lucia has taken the bold step and transformed 4 secondary schools into fully TVET institutions, and we are here to dissect the matter. Today, I have Delphia Naitram, who is the head of the TVET unit. Should I say that?
Education Officer for TVET.
Education Officer for TVET unit. I have your whole bio here, so we'll get into that. But I have Miss Naitram here, and we've been working on this project together, and I'm here to hear what she has to say about it. And I can promise she's going to be an exciting guest. Just the passion, the enthusiasm that she has for this project is just second to none. So join me in welcoming Delthia. Delthia, thank you for making the time to be here with me on this podcast. I know you have a very, very busy schedule. It was hard to pull you out of your office to get you here.
Yes. Thank you, Phil. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for taking the time. You're a passionate educator for over almost a decade in experience in teaching. You've dedicated your career to improving education in St. Lucia, having both worked as a teacher and a teacher within the TVET unit. Can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I worked as a teacher for a number of years. I'm an art teacher. Mm-hmm. And then I was assigned to the TVET unit, where I spent almost the last 9 years. Until last year, January, I became the education officer for TVET.
You are the education officer for the project or the unit in itself?
The unit.
The unit.
The unit.
All right. So tell me a little bit about what that has been like, that transition, because you have, I've spoken to other people. I'm talking to stalwarts in the education system in St. Lucia. I'm talking to TVET advocates and proponents. And for you are the lead on this, and your shoulders must be so strong.
Yes, I think if anything, over the course of the development of this project, I have developed shoulder strength because it has been immense. Sometimes you have an idea, and over the years, even as an art teacher, I became familiar with, the CVQs and so on. And I was really excited about it, and I felt this was a thing that should be in schools, and so I became a sort of champion for it at the school. But becoming education officer and having to spearhead a lot of the various aspects of this project, I don't think at that point, as a teacher, I had, or even when we thought about this and we would be discussing what a TVET school would look like, that I even thought of all those aspects and so much that had to be done in order to get it right. But, as you rightly said, passion drives you. And this morning I was thinking, and I said, it's one thing to want to be great in the world, but it's a totally different thing to make your world great. And that is what we're doing. It's easy for me to say, yes, I have become education officer of TVET, and that's great. I've become great in it, but that's nothing. But to do a great thing for the children, for the country, that's really what counts.
The passion just oozes from you. And even from the first time we met, I just felt like this lady is very passionate about this project, that even in my indoctrination into it and understanding, I personally felt that way, as I've expressed to you before. But now just dealing with all the different figureheads and all the people involved in the projects and so forth, I'm really starting to get an appreciation for the value of not what this is, but what this will become, and how it will better the lives of our students, who would become more wholesome contributors to the society this is almost a sure way to ensure that we increase the productivity in our society. And you always say education is the key, but we have so many barriers to just getting that key through the door. Then I think this is a great way and a great initiative to alleviate that. But before we go a little bit further, let me just ask you, what would you say are your main goals for the TVET Transformation Project, especially with converting 4 secondary schools into TVET institutions? What did you really hope to achieve?
I hope to ensure that every child has a chance to succeed. Over the years, even as a student myself and so on, I noticed that we have an education system where it is structured in a way, and historically it's been so, and it's not unique to St. Lucia where success seems to be confined to a certain category of persons. And, either you can do this, and if you cannot do that, then that's it for you. We see those little cartoons and so on with asking a fish to climb a tree and then telling it that it has failed, And I'm saying, I really want that at the end of this project and as it becomes and it blossoms really, that every child has a chance to succeed, that we cater to their abilities and their potentials. So TVET is really speaking, it's really giving expression to the potential of every child. So we are no longer going to have boundaries and barriers where students at 11, where you feel that, hey, I failed because I didn't meet that benchmark. And as if that's the only benchmark that there is. So that's why the pillar of this transformation is inclusivity, diversity, and opportunity. And if you put it together, we get the acronym I DO. And that's what we really want for persons who get that TVET training to become the doers in society.
I do. I like that. I do get it. Tell me a little bit about the schools. You're converting 4 secondary schools. And when they open, they are going to be, it's currently the ending of the third term for schools. And when school reopens, or at the time of filming, when school reopens in September, they are going to be full TVET institutions. Tell me a bit about those 4 secondary schools and what are the different disciplines that one can come to expect out of these schools?
Now, those 4 schools, they have been on this path, working towards this pathway. We are trying to formalize it. We are trying to give it structure. Okay? So we have schools that have the occupational areas already being offered. So from September 2023, we have students who were already following some of the programs.
Okay.
All right? So let's look at our schools. So we have the Grand Riviere Secondary School, and the flagship program at that school is going to be Sustainable Agriculture and Culinary Arts. Then the Auger Secondary School is going to focus on innovation and technology. And we are really hoping that that school eventually will be able to do a lot of research and link to a lot of different occupational areas and to create a real mindset where persons are innovating, where they're coming up with new ideas, services, products, and so on that speak to almost every industry area, and looking at the new technologies and how it's impacting the world of work. The PI Secondary School will be the Institute for Construction and Heritage, and the Stanley John Adler Memorial Secondary School, their flagship program is going to be arts, media, and design.
So when you say flagship, does that mean that is all that is offered at that school, or is that the concentration? Help me out a little bit with that.
So all 4 schools, let's compare it to a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
So all 4 schools offer the same buffet. You have some areas that are evident at all the schools. So, for example, there's something in agriculture, there's something in construction, there's something in, let's say, garment or sewing, So these areas are, you can find programs or follow training linked to these areas in all 4 schools. And you have to understand our geography. We are small, but let me tell you, our transport system, because of our geography too, the way the settlements are laid out, you understand it is not always easy to get from one place to another, even though aerially they are not far. So therefore, you have some staple programs at all 4 schools. But the flagship program is that area that is more highly specialized. So the focus is on that in terms of the investment of resources and the qualifications and so on. There's more intensity in those areas.
To contrast that, what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced while managing the TVET transformation project? How have you managed these challenges moving forward?
Well, there's no great idea that's going to come without challenges. So, of course, we headed into this project and anticipated that. With change will always come resistance. But the only thing I want to say to you, first and foremost, is that challenges are opportunities. Opportunities to redirect ourselves, opportunities to fix things, and so on. So we have to learn in every challenge to see the opportunity rather than put our hands on our head and say, woe is me, or give up. And we're not about to give up. One of the biggest challenges we've faced is the mindset about TVET and getting people to understand TVET. And even the TVET discourse sometimes, a lot of times, the TVET discourse occurs within a sort of grammar school mindset. So we're using grammar school pedagogies and we're using the way we think about traditional style education to describe TVET, which is totally different. So what we need to do is to change the conversation. And we are happy to have, so now we have podcasts such as this, which gives us an opportunity to change the language of the discourse on TVET. And we have to change the mindset of people.
That's the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
That's a tall order.
It's a tall order, but we believe in time, and especially as we begin to tell our success stories and so on, that people's attitudes towards TVET will change.
I've seen with the increased visibility around this TVET project and TVET on a whole over the last few months and years, you have seen some contrasting views, those who may not have been so supportive of the program and of the transformation. What would you say to those who feel like what we are doing, or what is being done currently, is not enough, or it doesn't hit the right markers that the society may need?
I read a quote by Nikola Tesla, and he said that you cannot see the results of a great idea immediately. It takes time. And if we think back, every great idea we had, it took time, and probably people were very resistant to it too. So I think we need to give it time. We're looking at I mean, our education system, if we look historically from post-emancipation, and we look up to this day, we are still ironing out kinks in it. There are still parts of it that's not working perfectly. Therefore, we cannot expect a project that is just coming on stream to be perfect. Yeah. Okay. So we have to give it time, but we must be reflective in what we are doing. We need to stop at various intervals, take stock, and be open to review and reflection. And that's why everybody's comments, even those that are negative, because we can't expect everybody to pat us on the back and clap for us, that we have to look at those comments, and it is going to give us insight into the aspects that we need to adjust so that we can improve and continue to grow the program in the direction where it is going to benefit us as a people and as a country.
Because I see from my observation, TVET can be, or the disciplines that are being pushed forward, we can tackle maybe a million more. There's no finite number of disciplines or subjects that we could look into. Was it that what was selected was based on something in particular? What was observed? Was it that the workforce needed something? Was there some sort of gap? Was there some sort of deficiency? Was it that we were looking to empower the students better? What was the call that really had you put forward these schools, these disciplines, this is the flagship, this is how the project should be modeled and taken from there?
The programs offered at the schools, the various occupational areas, the selection of that is a multifaceted process. We have to look at, first of all, the resources that we have available and the already existing facilities. Mm-hmm. So we had to work with that. Because you have to work with what you already have and how we can build on it. We looked at the labor market needs survey. Because remember, we are developing programs that speak to industry and the labor market needs of the country.
So it's not just interest level. It's not just interest.
It's as I said, it's multifaceted. Okay. We have to look at areas that would interest the students. Mm. We have to look at various elements. What is our training capacity in terms of the expertise that the teachers may already have, or where we can get experts in certain areas. The areas we would obviously like to offer, but do we have the expertise in terms of having these persons to train the students? So over time, we have to develop those capacities in order to strengthen our programs and redirect them. One of the features of the 4 schools, and it is something that sets them apart from the regular secondary school, is the idea of flexibility. Mm-hmm. Because the programs at that school, the industry areas will not change, but the qualifications that are offered under those industry areas will change. So whereas now we may offer bread, cakes, and pastry and focus a lot on cake making, decorating, and so on, as we look at the labor market needs and the number of persons we've trained, we have to keep monitoring that. In the next couple of years, we may have to change that, right? And so we may have to offer something in the culinary area using the same facilities, but related and relevant to what is required in the labor market. So, for example, we may decide let's say we have a lot of fish and so on, and there's need for persons to know how to prepare fish and meats and so on. The hotels need persons that, so we may begin doing that. Mm-hmm. And, persons tend to speak of occupational areas in terms of low and high, and this is, menial, and this is, But sometimes persons, and that's where the innovation and so on comes in, that you can take something that has been done for a long time and turn it into a product that everybody wants, and a high-end product or a fast-selling product. I mean, every time I look at Martha Stewart, I chuckle, because I'm saying, there we were being housewives all the time and just doing all of this. And you look down, oh, it's just a housewife. And she took a lot of the skills associated with that, and she turned it into a multi-million dollar business. So, we may have somebody who is, their skill is maybe to make coal pots or to make these clay pots. But maybe that same skill can be translated into something else. Or you end up creating an in-demand, high-end product using the same clay and techniques that you are using for the coal pots. So, again, no skill is wasted, and we do not want to categorize skills and
jobs too, because I think part of the stigma that is put out there is that one job may be better than another job, and we may not even necessarily be looking at salary scales, but we're also looking at respect level just because of a particular job, not thinking that, the demand for this job, yet may be prestigious in name and title, but the demand for this is dwindling. I wanted to ask you, you were mentioning, I was asking, how did we decide what schools do what subjects or what disciplines were put forward in the first place? What I wanted to know is, when we're looking back on this 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, what would be some of the key performance indicators that we would be able to assess and say, this project achieved this amount of success?
Okay, if we have to discuss key indicators for this project, first of all, we have to really brush up our approach to doing things in education. And I want to speak for TVET in particular, that maybe over the years, one of our weaknesses has been data collection, and so that we ensure that we make data-driven decisions. So we need to, with this project, we definitely see a need to collect data, and it must be timely and it must be relevant. So our indicators would be the number of students that we are able to put out after the training period is over, and to ensure that they are certified. So, for example, how many students have we certified? We need to monitor if during the course of training, do students drop out of the program, so that we can ensure and basically collect data to find out why they may be dropping out and so on, to help us retain our students. So a lot of it is going to depend on that kind of data, but definitely the number of graduates from the program, and we need to have a tracker where we can see how they articulate into different jobs, and whether the jobs relate directly to their training, the training they've had or not. We need to liaise with even the employers to find out, once they have employed the graduates from these schools, how well do they fit into the world of work. So we will need that kind of quality assurance so that we can track the success of our programs. Of course, we will look at things such as increases in intake and so on. What is the data that may be a little more slippery, I suppose, in order to establish, we have to monitor the changing attitudes of persons towards TVET, whether parents are more accepting of our schools and the programs and so on.
So let me ask, as you mentioned parents, what strategies would you say you would use or you have been using to engage parents, stakeholders and the public into the transformation of these schools?
Along the way, we have been doing stakeholder engagements. So, for example, all the parents who have children currently in grade 6, we had an opportunity to speak with them before they selected, before they logged in their school choices for their students. And we have started going to a few primary schools, speaking to the kids. They are really excited. Those that we have been able to reach. We have met with industry partners. We've had some town hall meetings. But as I'm saying, it is ongoing. This is an ongoing process to engage the stakeholders. So we are currently working on expanding that engagement.
So just for the appreciation of the audience, how would you say, at the time of recording, we are in the third term and it's drawing to a close? How would you mentioned that you were engaging parents in grade 6 about to make choices for to ascend to the next education level. How would one go about selecting one of the 4 TVET secondary schools to enroll in? Is it different? Do you have to make some sort of special application? What is outline that process for me?
No, it's not different. The schools are offered among all the other choices that you have, and so it is an option for everyone.
So it's just a matter of
it's a matter that you add it to your school choice. Right. I choose this school, that school for your child, and you choose it. What we would like to see is for the schools, these schools, in their old persona, they have been zone schools because, we have the partial zoning system. Yes. So we would like to remove them from being zone schools and that they are put out there so that parents can choose them and they are not relegated to just the school you live close to.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, because of course the whole point of school is to prepare you for the world of work, which is the ideal. But then you have students, you have everybody saying at some point or not, they didn't teach me that in school, or school did not prepare me for this sort of thing. How would you say that the TVET unit is integrating the business community, or how the TVET unit is looking to integrate the business community into the TVET transformation project, which in the future will not be called transformation, it'll just be TVET schools. Yeah. How are we looking to bridge that gap?
Okay, first of all, one of the bridge between the students' training and the world of work is the standard. The occupational standard that is used for training is set by industry. So therefore, that is your first bridge. We also have begun establishing partnerships with various industry stakeholders. So currently we have posters and applications going out where persons in the business world, whether you're operating individually or if you own a small business, medium-sized business, or you have a skill area and you want to partner with the schools in the sense that you may want to take in children into your business so that they can get on-the-job training opportunities, we invite you to just partner with us you can always reach out to the TVET unit. We have some posters going up, and you will also see them on social media, television, etc., where you can just scan the QR code. It's going to take you to the registration form, and you fill it out, and you register officially as a partner, or you indicate your interest to partner with us. So that's our major drive in terms of getting persons to partner. And some of the partnerships have already been formed because, for example, you have students who are selling their produce to Massey, for example. And we saw one of our schools, the students went to Massey, and Massey wasn't being soft with them to say, poor job, these are school children, and so on. They had to go through the processes and procedures that every producer would face as they come to Massey to sell their food produce.
Shout out Massey.
So they had to go through it, and they had to go through the whole quality assurance process and so on. You know, they had to work out their prices, everything. So the partnerships are there already. We up to just recently, this week, we had a stakeholder engagement where we did a virtual session to explain the whole transformation to certain business owners, and so that they could see how they could weigh in on it. We got some good advice. It sensitized us to what their needs are, what they're looking for. And in fact, one of the things that came out of it is the need for data. So we know that one of the things we have to do, all those students who are going to be graduating from these programs and who are trained in specific industry areas, we need to have a database of that so that an employer could just plug into that and they can say, listen, I'm looking for somebody, you're looking for a camera operator or whatever. We say, okay, let's check the database for the School of Arts, Media and Design. And there we have 6 students who just graduated. They did basic camera operations. So you can get their contact, interview them, and so on.
Because what that would do, I'm imagining, is that for entrepreneurs and business owners, HR managers, and so forth, it would take a lot less time to train, and not just time, money, resources to train these new hires. So if you would spend 2 months training them, or the expectancy of probation would be you give them 3 months to assess if they are on par with what you want them to do. You could perhaps look to more advanced things because you already have the understanding that this person has been training this, and from what I'm understanding, the competency-based training has a profile that shows you are competent in A, B, C, or D, as opposed to just CSEC or other forms of education where it's just, I have an A in this, and it doesn't really define, like, okay, you have an A in this or you got a grade in this, but what
does it really say?
What does it say?
Because, and we were having that discussion recently because, in fact, with the employers and so on whom we had the engagement, somebody comes to you with a thing that says, I have an A in this or whatever. You don't really know what aspects of it they know, because remember, it's a certain percentage that helps you get that A or B or, But the CVQs and NVQs are evidence-based. The students have to do a portfolio. The portfolio is developmental as well as showcase. So the portfolio is, you when you look at the student's portfolio, you can see their training development. You can track how their skills develop. You can see them going through the processes. And the showcase aspect of their portfolio will show you the best of their skill. So that portfolio is further evidence,
And then you could select, so even if the person has in the portfolio, maybe there'll be 5 sections. if section A, B, C does not apply to you, you don't hire the person for that. But the other two is really what you are looking for. You can zone in on that. Another organization may only need the person to be competent in A and B. So look for the evidence of that part of it.
Okay, so if we look at a subject such as mathematics, and we go to an employer, two of us come to the employer for an interview, we have a grade 2 in mathematics. How do you know what I know versus what the other person knows? So I may be good at geometry and measurement and so on. The other person may be good at algebra and vectors and statistics. But you don't need a statistician. You're a building contractor. You need me to be able to measure. You need me to understand angles, geometry, and that kind of thing. But the qualification that you normally get would not be so descriptive. So you might end up employing the other person, and you end up with a skill mismatch. The beauty of the CVQs and the NVQs is that you see all the units that the person has attained. So therefore, it is more descriptive, and you can make a better decision and match the potential employee to the job role that you have.
I think that's important to articulate, so that we know how to employ people, not just based on what grades are presented to us, because the grading system as it is not very descriptive. It just gives a basic, A, B, 3.6, whatever it is that you are doing, 25%, 100%, and so forth. But I like this. Unfortunately, Delphia, we have run out of time. But I really want to thank you. Hopefully, we can have you here for another episode, so we can go more into this. Is that something you'd be open to?
Most definitely. We want people to get as much information as possible so that they make informed decisions.
Well, hopefully I'll have you back. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Talking TVET. I am your host, Phil Henderson. Join us next Friday for another episode, whether you're watching on YouTube, on television, radio, or any of the major streaming channels. Be sure to subscribe to the Talking TVET channel on